A 50-foot sailboat with one person at the helm sounds insane until you see the deck layout. No winch grinding, no rope wrestling, no panic when the wind picks up. These boats exist, and the people buying them aren't superheroes. They're retirees, liveaboards, and experienced sailors who figured out that bigger doesn't always mean harder. The difference comes down to engineering choices most builders got wrong for decades. Hydraulic systems instead of manual winches, furling gear on everything, deck layouts that let you control the entire boat from the cockpit. We tracked down 7 models that actually deliver on that promise, and the data from owners who've logged thousands of solo miles tells a very specific story about what works and what doesn't. This Swedish builder has been refining blue water cruisers since 1972, and the 44 represents their clearest answer to the solo sailor question. The cockpit runs everything: main halyard, furling lines for the Jeanneau and staysail, reefing lines, all led back to 2 electric Harken winches mounted within reach of the helm seat. You can raise, reef, or furl every sail without leaving the cockpit. The backstay adjuster is hydraulic. The boom vang is rigid, so the boom doesn't swing unpredictably when you're easing the main. Owners report average passage-making speeds around 6.5 knots, which puts this boat in serious cruising territory. The hull is heavy by modern standards, displacement around 30,000 pounds fully loaded, but that weight translates to predictable motion offshore. Dealers in Florida and the Chesapeake report consistent interest from buyers in their early 60s, often coming out of smaller boats they sailed for years. New pricing reportedly starts around 760,000 euros, roughly $850,000 for a recent model. Used examples from 2018 to 2020 trade in the $600,000 range, and they move quickly. The layout below favors extended cruising. 3 cabins with the option for 2 or 3, 1 head with a separate shower, a galley with a 3-burner stove and front-loading refrigeration. The engine is a Volvo D275 with 75 horsepower, enough to push the boat at 7 knots in flat water. The boat is 45 feet long with a center cockpit configuration and twin rudders that make handling predictable under autopilot. That matters when you're solo and weather windows close faster than expected. If the Hallberg-Rassy appeals to traditional blue water sailors, the Beneteau targets a slightly different buyer who wants modern performance without sacrificing solo capability. The boat uses twin rudders, which means better control under autopilot and more responsive handling when you're hand steering in tight spaces. The mainsail is fully battened with lazy jacks and a stack pack system. Drop the halyard and the sail falls into its cover without anyone needing to go forward. The deck layout eliminates most of the long walks. Primary winches are electric, mounted just aft of the helm pedestals on both sides. All control lines run under the deck and emerge in the cockpit. The Jeanneau furls on a Facnor system that's been standard since the boat launched in 2018. The boat lists at just under 26,000 pounds displacement, which is light for a 46-footer, but the hull shape provides enough stability for offshore work. According to cruiser forums and owner surveys, average Atlantic crossing times run between 15 and 18 days, depending on routing. Pricing starts around 320,000 euros, or roughly $360,000 for a base new 2024 model. With the standard cruising package that includes bow thruster, generator, upgraded electronics, and electric winches, you're looking closer to $400,000. Used models from 2020 sell in the $420,000 to $460,000 range. Inventory moves faster in the fall when buyers are positioning for Caribbean seasons. The engine is a Yanmar 4JH57 with 57 horsepower. The boat is just under 48 feet overall. The shorter range under power means this boat is designed for sailing, not motoring long distances. Where Beneteau focuses on modern production efficiency, Amel takes a completely different approach with boats built specifically for couples and solo sailors making long passages. The Amel 50 broke tradition as the yard's first sloop in over 20 years, moving away from their signature catch rigs. Everything furls. Main and Jeanneau roll up with electric systems. The entire boat can be sailed from inside the pilot house if weather turns bad. The center cockpit design puts the helm high enough for good visibility, but protected from spray. The The windlass is electric with chain counters and foot switches. The bow thruster is standard, along with a stern thruster, which makes docking a 49-footer genuinely manageable without crew. Weight sits around 41,000 pounds, and the motion offshore is stable without being sluggish. Owners report comfortable passages in conditions that would send lighter boats into uncomfortable hobby horsing. Amel doesn't build boats quickly. Production runs about 12 to 15 hulls per year, and there's typically a waiting list. New pricing reportedly starts around €790,000 ex-VAT, which puts it over $900,000 when fully equipped. Used examples from recent years hold value exceptionally well. The engine is a Yanmar 4JH80 with 80 horsepower, enough to punch through head seas when you need to make a weather window. Fuel capacity is 148 gallons. Water is 132 gallons. The boat is just over 50 feet long with a raised saloon that floods the interior with natural light. The jump from Amel's methodical approach brings us to another French builder with a very different philosophy. Jeanneau positioned this model between their performance line and their cruising line, and the result works well for experienced sailors transitioning to solo sailing. The hull is lighter than traditional cruisers at around 25,000 pounds, which means the boat accelerates quickly and responds well to wind shifts. Twin rudders provide good control under autopilot, and the deck layout keeps all working lines within reach of the helm. The rig is a standard sloop with a self-tacking jib option. That feature matters more than it sounds. A self-tacking jib means you can tack the boat without touching a sheet. The sail moves across on its own, guided by a track and car system. For solo sailors, that eliminates one of the most physically demanding tasks, especially in choppy conditions. The main uses in-mast furling as standard, with options for buyers who want traditional sail handling. Pricing for a new 2024 model starts around €300,000, or roughly $340,000 as a base. With a cruising package that includes bow thruster, electric winches, upgraded autopilot, and a generator, you're closer to $500,000 to $600,000 fully equipped. Used models from 2019 and 2020 trade in the $450,000 to $550,000 range. Dealers in Annapolis and San Diego report steady interest from buyers downsizing from larger boats or upsizing from 35-footers they've been sailing for years. The engine is a Yanmar with 80 horsepower. The boat is just under 49 feet overall. Moving from mainstream French production to British specialty building, the Southerly introduces a feature none of the previous boats offer. This builder specializes in variable draft sailboats, and the 480 carries that design into blue water-capable dimensions. The centerboard lifts hydraulically, reducing draft from 10 feet 2 inches to 3 feet 3 inches. That range opens up cruising grounds most deep-keel boats can't access: shallow bays, river anchorages, tidal harbors. The trade-off is complexity. More systems mean more potential maintenance, but owners report the hydraulics are reliable if serviced annually. The deck layout follows the same solo-friendly design seen across this category. All lines lead aft to electric winches, furling gear on all sails, bow and stern thrusters. The cockpit sits low and protected, with high coamings that provide good bracing when you're working alone. The boat weighs 38,000 pounds with the board down, and the motion offshore is solid. The hull shape creates enough initial stability to carry sail in higher winds without excessive heeling. Southerly builds boats in limited numbers under the Discovery Yachts Group, and new models sell primarily in Europe and through select dealers. Pricing for a new 480 reportedly starts around £825,000, which translates to over $1 million. Used examples from recent years appear occasionally on brokerage sites in the $750,000 to $900,000 range. The engine is a Yanmar 4JH80 with 80 horsepower. The boat is just under 49 feet overall. Range under power is substantial thanks to good fuel capacity, which makes this boat practical for long island hopping routes. That variable draft capability sets Southerly apart, but some sailors prefer the simplicity of a fixed keel with proven offshore credentials. Discovery builds exactly that kind of boat. This British builder focuses on offshore cruising designs, and the 48 reflects decades of feedback from blue water sailors. The boat is heavy at 38,000 pounds, but that weight provides stability in rough conditions. The rig is a cutter setup with twin head sails, which gives you options for balancing the boat in varying wind strengths. All sails furl, and all control lines run back to the cockpit. The deck layout is wide and uncluttered. Handrails run the full length of the side decks, and the cabin top is flat with good non-skid. The cockpit is deep with high coamings, and the helm seat positions you with clear sight lines forward. Electric winches handle primary sheets and halyards. The windlass is sized appropriately for the boat, which matters when you're anchoring alone in current or wind. The bow thruster is powerful enough to move the bow in 15-knot winds. Discovery builds boats in limited numbers at their facility in England, and availability outside of Europe is rare. New pricing reportedly starts around £645,000 ex-VAT, which puts it well over $800,000. Used models from the mid-2010s trade in the $600,000 to $750,000 range, and they hold value well. The engine is a Yanmar with 80 or more horsepower, depending on the specification. The boat is just under 49 feet overall, with either a raised or traditional saloon configuration. Fuel and water capacity support extended cruising. Discovery emphasizes rugged simplicity, but the final boat on this list took a more refined approach to the same offshore mission. Oyster builds boats for serious offshore sailors, and the 4995 represents their answer to short-handed cruising. The deck layout eliminates unnecessary trips forward. Every line terminates in the cockpit at electric winches. The mainsail uses in-mast furling, which keeps the deck clear and allows instant reefing. The Jeanneau furls on a structural forestay with a high-load furler designed for offshore conditions. The boat weighs 46,000 pounds and carries significant ballast low in the keel. That creates stiff initial stability and predictable motion offshore. Owners who've crossed oceans solo report the boat tracks well under autopilot and doesn't require constant course corrections. The rudder system uses twin rudders, which reduces load on the steering and makes hand steering less tiring. Oyster continues production of the 4i95, with the yard currently active under ownership since 2018. New models are built to order with extensive customization available, and pricing reportedly reaches well into the $2 million range when fully equipped. The substantial investment reflects the build quality and attention to detail. Used models from the early 2020s appear occasionally on the brokerage market. The engine is a Yanmar with 110 horsepower. Fuel is 211 gallons, water is 159 gallons. The boat is just over 52 feet overall with a raised saloon configuration. Looking across these 7 boats, patterns emerge that matter more than any single model choice. Electric winches break, hydraulic systems leak, furling gear jams. These boats are easier to sail solo, but they're more expensive to maintain. According to service records from yards in Annapolis, Fort Lauderdale, and San Diego, annual maintenance costs on boats over 40 feet with electric and hydraulic systems average between $8,000 and $12,000. That includes routine service, not repairs. When something breaks, costs jump significantly. A replacement electric winch motor runs around $2,000 plus labor. Hydraulic pumps for furling systems cost between $1,500 and $3,000 depending on the brand. Bow thrusters require service every 2 to 3 years, which involves hauling the boat and inspecting seals and propellers. Owners who keep detailed logs report that these systems add roughly 30 to 40% to annual maintenance budgets compared to boats with manual systems. But most buyers accept that trade. The alternative is not going sailing or not going as often because crew isn't available. One owner in the British Virgin Islands told a surveyor he'd rather pay for electric winch service than deal with shoulder surgery from grinding winches for another decade. That calculation changes the math. If the boat lets you sail more, the extra maintenance becomes worth it. The market timing question keeps coming up in dealer conversations. According to brokerage data from the past 18 months, inventory of quality blue water cruisers over 40 feet remains tight. Listings sell faster than they're replaced, especially for models with full cruising equipment and good maintenance records. Interest rates affect financing costs, but most buyers in this category pay cash or finance short-term. New boat orders face long lead times. Production slots at builders like Hallberg-Rassy and Amel are booked 12 to 18 months out. That means if you order now, you're looking at delivery in late 2025 or 2026. Used boats move quickly when priced fairly. Buyers looking at boats in this category should expect to move fast when the right boat appears. The market for solo-capable cruisers isn't speculation. Demographics drive it. Sailors in their 50s and 60s want to keep cruising without the physical demands of traditional sail handling. Builders responded by engineering boats that actually work for 1 or 2 people. The resale market reflects that demand. These boats hold value better than performance-oriented models or boats without modern systems. So here's the question. If you could handle a 50-foot sailboat as easily as a 35-footer, would that change where you'd go or how often you'd leave the dock? The boats on this list prove it's possible, but the trade-off is complexity and cost. If you're tracking this market or considering a move to a larger boat designed for solo sailing, subscribe. We're covering production changes, brokerage trends, and real-world feedback from owners making long passages shorthanded. The data is moving faster than most people realize.